Hello and welcome. It is 6 o'clock and it is the 6 o'clock club. Hiya, I'm Andy from Twisted Narrative. I've got my co-writer partner in crime, Matt, just below me there. Hiya,
Hey
Matt.
folks.
How's
Hey,
your
right.
week been so far?
It's been all right. I had the exciting joy of my car going in for a service yesterday, so that's all horribly grown up and boring.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it was all okay for you because I know it can cost a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Uh,
it was I got a thing that I may have to pay for in the next month or so, but I was, it was not a make or break situation. So,
yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
good.
other than that, it's all good.
Uh, yeah, we finally got the plumber in today, and our gas is working. Well, it's on boiler rather than gas is working now. It's been about a week, so we've got proper heating and proper hot water. So I'm less smelly than I was. No, we had an electric shower. Only joking. Anyway, I'm sure the world out there is not interested in our domestic matters, or maybe you are. Put a comment in chat below. Um, Talking about chat, obviously we haven't got the chat coming up on the screen because we've got Matt here, so I will be looking back and forth and trying to say hello to everybody who is in chat. We've got Kyle already. Hiya, Kyle. Kyle should hopefully be joining us this Friday, I believe. Looking forward to that. And obviously Matt, who is with me, has said hi in chat as well. So, not so much a different 6 o'clock club today, but one that we're going to be talking about something that is very close to mine and Matt's heart. This thing that is hopefully directly in front of you at the moment that everybody can see. Kickstarter launches 25th of March. That was on Saturday. The
Oh,
Riddle, yeah, the Riddle of Rotwood Bog. Um, a very interesting sort of Kickstarter for us because it's not our Kickstarter. Um, we were, I suppose, commissioned. Is that the right word?
yes, yeah, I think so. Certainly asked, and there's income to come from it, hopefully. So,
Yeah, yeah. On behalf of Dragon's Forge, who are doing this Kickstarter, that they wanted out to have an adventure alongside their most awesome miniatures range, and sort of strange, not strangely. I mean, the world is a big place, but myself and Matt didn't know each other prior to that. We were put into contact by the owner of Dragon's Forge. Um, Matt, I mean, obviously you had been in touch with this mutual friend sort of previously and working on some of the projects with him. Do you want to give us a little bit of background of how you came in
sure.
contact with Dragon's Forge and what you were working on?
Yeah, so I met the chap who runs Dragon's Forge through yet another contact in the sort of the gaming world. So I was doing a piece of work editing a series of adventure game books, and our the chap from Dragon's Forge had got in touch with the people who were creating those game books and was asking advice about Kickstarter and things, and said they were looking to get an adventure or a book produced because they had this awesome model series that they were looking to produce. Um, did they know any writers? And they were very kind to think of me and put me in touch with our mutual friend, and we had a great conversation, which immediately felt like, oh, this is a creative partnership that could go somewhere. This is really exciting. So then I started some work for or with the Dragon's Forge team on initially a series of um, gnome models and kind of gnome miniatures and some monsters and creatures and zombies and things, and it was very, very cool. Which we attempted to launch as a Kickstarter sometime last year, which unfortunately did not go as well as it could have done. So the campaign got cancelled for a little bit, but the hope is that we kind of backtracking and then that will come a bit further along the line. But I'd really enjoyed the creative process and working with Dragon's Forge, and so we'd had conversations about wanting to continue that collaboration, and so then Gordon got in touch and basically said there's a great collection of models that they've worked on, of these sort of Dragorokai dragon folk, and what they wanted to produce was an adventure, so that it would be a sort of a much smaller scale campaign this time around, but the aim would be to kind of create an adventure that would go with these models, so that you can have the models and the adventure in one package, and it would be great. And not only this, a good friend of his who's been playing D&D and other games for years, he and he thought that I would get on really well with this DM chap, so he put us in touch, and so I then Andy and I met each other via the joys of the internet. And I think it's probably safe to say we hit it off pretty quickly.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, very much kind of from those very first conversations, I think we'd both concluded we both want the same thing from tabletop games, and it was the joy of storytelling and collaborative storytelling. So we thought, let's give this project a go. So then we had a look at some of the fantastic models that Dragon's Forge have produced, and kind of had a very rough idea of the model set that we had to work with, and then it was just a case of throwing story ideas together. And I kind of had a couple of thoughts which I shared with you, and then you, in your fantastic fizzing brain, kind of went, okay, you've given me a couple of thoughts. Here's a 3-page document which is just a bunch of notes about a full entire adventure.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's kind of gone from there. That was a very convoluted story, but there you go.
No, it's perfect. And then we met, and was that was pre-Christmas, wasn't it? Was it even early? Was it November, October time, or?
It was November, late October, early November, I think, when we had our first call. Certainly some
Yeah,
of my first meeting notes are around early October, early November.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and kind of had very much the very basic stats of dragon folk
yeah.
and a dragon and a party. Go
That's right.
make a
Yeah.
thing.
And
So we tried.
I mean, it's been a joy working with you, so much so that
Likewise.
beyond whether we get any more commissions from Dragon's Forge, which we hope we do, it's been a great pleasure working with them as well. We're going to do some of our own sort of writing as well.
We
So
are.
yeah, we've definitely sort of hit it off.
Mm.
So yeah, so the conception of this, it's kind of interesting really, because um, as creators, as writers, we were given a brief. It wasn't like, well, write anything and just make it good. It was, no, we need this to be associated with these models, these miniatures, which is fine, because it narrows down what the focus is on really. Um, and at first, the brief was sort of relatively sort of narrow. It was, um, I think we either misinterpreted it, or um, it was fundamentally for a one shot. I think that the terminology was,
Yes.
this is not a one shot adventure book. um, I mean, it is. I think if you were to kind of rush it through and sort of play it, you could probably do it in 5-6 hours, maybe.
Yes.
Um, that is if you did it in a kind of linear way and just did the encounters.
Yeah.
Um, so our first draft of it, and I think was there 6-7 drafts in total in the end.
Yeah.
Like, these are full
Yeah.
drafts.
Yeah.
Um,
6.2, which is so draft 6 with a couple of extra bits in between. I don't know if it's just me. That's perfect. So I don't know if that was just me or YouTube got that as well, but that was
yeah,
interesting.
it's. I think I'm going to need a new mic. These mics have been incredibly reliable in the past, and now it's not. I mean, it's fully plugged in. According to this, I'm on Streamlabs at the moment. The mixer is telling me that I'm talking. The mic's picking it up. But thank you for telling me. If it goes again,
That's okay.
please let me know.
I will do.
Um, so what I was saying was, there's been 6+ drafts.
Mm.
The initial brief was for a one shot,
Yeah.
which we produced. And for me, a one shot is kind of a 3-hour adventure.
Mm.
I mean that when I run one shots, they're designed to be 3 hours because I don't want to say a standard game lasts 3 hours because that's quite different tables play at different lengths.
Yeah.
I mean back when I was much younger, we used to start first thing in the morning and go through to past midnight. That would be a standard game for us. Um, but just in these modern times, I suppose, especially when people are working, 3 hours just seems about a right sort of time.
Yeah.
For me, that kind of runs ticketed games. People seem to like they start at 7 and end at 10, so they can get to bed and go to work, and they can get home from uh, work and start a game at 7, etc., etc. So it felt natural to me to time that for 3 hours, and that is kind of maybe 3 to 4 combat encounters plus some side extra things tacked on that are kind of semi-optional.
Yeah.
Um, then when we submitted the first draft, they went, "Oh, we've got more miniatures. You haven't included all the miniatures. Can you do some more encounters?" And we said, "Well, of course, yeah. I mean, that's not a problem. We it was hard. It's harder to do less than it is to do more. I think
Yeah.
when you're being
100%.
being creative, because if you're passionate about the product and if you want it to be good, you kind of want to give as much as you can give,
Mm.
and doing that in a small number of encounters is quite difficult. So it was like, oh, cool, we can include these other encounters. So new encounters were included, and I think we had previous sort of meetings or discussions, not just you and me, but
Mm.
with Gordon as well, about about do you want supplemental information about the village that the players have been
Yes.
hired from, and it was kind of like, well, I'm not sure. And then he kind of went, I'll do it. So we got to do that as well, which was
Yeah.
really, really good fun. Um, so the whole thing has grown.
Mm.
It has grown, and I don't know about you, but I haven't actually seen a finished copy yet. All I've seen at the
No.
moment is the pages that are on the Kickstarter, and
Yes.
I can perhaps get that up for us now. Boom, boom, boom. If
Yeah,
I
no, I've seen the same, but they're very much that's the taster of what the rest of the
Yeah,
document will
yeah,
look
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, absolutely. Let me
and it
just.
looks great. It's really nice,
So
really beautifully put together.
yeah, I've got the Kickstarter page up here. It's got 61 backers at the moment, 18 days to go, and just over £3,000, which I'm kind of delighted about. But it's hit its goal. Um, but of course, we kind of we want it to do more, not just for us, but you know. My personal feeling is I want people to read what we've written. Um, I'm not sure. This is the book here. I'm not sure what's going to happen once the Kickstarter's over because, again, the book is copyright to Dragon's Forge. We were commissioned to write it, so I'm not entirely sure how you'll be able to get your hands upon the book once the Kickstarter has ended. There is probably going to be a way,
Yeah,
but
certainly that's my understanding. Is it will definitely be possible. It will be just clarifying how that is.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I guess as soon as we know, we can share that, and we will be able to share that with
absolutely.
everyone.
But you can see the layout of the book. It's professionally laid out here as I've done this. You've got the prologue. Many of the illustrations will be using the miniatures from the Kickstarter. So there you see the adventuring party. There you see the dragon, and I love this. It harkens back to the early sort of Games Workshop modules where they use the actual products as illustrations, and it's very exciting to see your concepts and your ideas transformed into this. I mean, I know it kind of worked the other way round in the fact that we were shown the miniatures. We went, what can we make out of this? Um, I mean, we've got these Mel Edictors. I think that's what we're calling them at the moment. These are kind of evil dragon Dracora Kai. Uh, can be used in 5th edition as Dragonborn kind of bards, and they've got some cool uh, abilities. There are a number of sort of NPCs made up there
Yeah,
that are new. Um, to use as well in the
yeah,
game. So it's I'm super excited. You can see the quality of the pages just there.
yeah. Yeah, and it's really nicely put together, and I think there's some like the the creatures that have been created for it, the kind of the unique monsters that have been created are really great and allow for some really interesting things. And what's been nice about it and kind of telling the story is letting the model tell the story, and that was quite fun as well. Because there's a couple of encounters that exist because a particular model inspired that scene and that moment because of how cool it was and the sort of the pose of this particular figure and stuff,
Yeah,
and it's been really nice kind of responding to that, and then having some feedback from the guys at Dragon's Forge to kind of say yeah, this model's really really cool. um can they get their own little moment, their own little scene as well, because it's too cool to just have them as one of the normal ones.
yeah,
So that's another way it grew beyond
yeah, yeah,
beyond the initial brief, but again in a really nice way and quite an organic way, which has been really good.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, and I suppose the challenge is to ensure that everything, like you said, felt organic, felt as if it was meant to be. There's no moments in this that you kind of feel that things are shoehorned into there
no.
at all. It's got a very nice flow to it.
Mm,
Um, one of the things that both myself and you, Matt, wanted to do was give some kind of GM's guides and tips. We didn't want to patronize, but we also
mm,
wanted to try and write it in such a way that it was quite clear, the process and the definition of
yeah.
this encounter and what could happen. And
Yeah.
it's quite difficult to do that. It's quite difficult to uh, sort of try and communicate everything that could happen, because being GMs, being players as well, we know that once players interact with plot, anything could happen.
Left
Um,
at the traffic lights
yeah,
anytime.
so that was fun as well to try and communicate ideas. We will be doing we're going to do a pre-recorded actual play of this tonight, in fact. So once the 6 o'clock club has finished, we're going to gather together and we're going to do an actual play. It's not going to be the complete adventure because, as I have just mentioned, it's going to take far longer than we actually have to run it sort of completely. But hopefully, you'll see one or two choice encounters. You'll get to see how players react to those. Um, you'll get to see the character introductions as well. Um, so it's going to be fun. I think I'm planning on releasing the entirety of the actual play tomorrow, but I might also edit it. What I'm thinking of is that I might um, not edit it as in take things out, but break it up into encounters. So if you kind of want to see how an introduction to a one shot is done, you'll be able to see that actually in play. And then if you do get the book and you're kind of thinking, I've got this encounter, I'm not sure of it, you can just go to that single YouTube video, which will be substantially shorter than sort of panning all the way through the 3 hours or so that will be running. I don't know whether that is me overthinking things or whether you think that's a good idea.
It certainly sounds logical to my mind.
Yeah.
I do notice Kyle in the chat has just said, "Shame, I was hoping for 9 hours tonight."
Oh, right.
Uh,
Okay. Well,
there's there might be enough there, but there's that's a long time.
yeah. What one of the good things is later on this year. I mean, I think next month and then the month after and then the month after. I've not really had a proper look at it yet. But there are an awful lot of bank holidays. There's not only the natural bank holidays of Easter, there's the coronation bank holidays, and then there's spring bank
Oh, yeah.
holidays, and then there's summer bank holidays. In fact, I kind of looking at it and I'm just going, there's so many bank holidays coming up. Um, so you never know, Kyle. I'm not talking about Riddle of Rotwood Bog, but I am, yeah, slowly but surely coming to the frame of mind of thinking perhaps it's time for another 24-hour event, or maybe even just a sort of an 8-hour thing or something like that. So
Sounds
the
exciting and exhausting.
yeah, I kind of, it's been a while since I've done a charity game, and I feel with the cost of living crisis and the way that everything's going at the moment,
Yeah.
kind of doing a charity-based game is a good idea.
Mm.
And what I tend to do is we just run a 24-hour game, and we get a page that you can donate at. So I don't take any of the money; it just goes
Oh,
directly. I think it's not GoFundMe.
is it is it coffee? That's one of the
No,
sort
no.
of.
It's direct to the charity.
Oh, great.
Basically
Okay.
it's I hate handling money on behalf of anybody. So it's like, if you have
Very fair.
liked what we have done, donate here, and it goes direct to the charity. So um,
Great.
I don't have to speak to my accountant about it, which is
Yes,
which
which
is
is it's a
one
good plan.
less. And it also means that you genuinely know that everything that you give is going to the place that you've pledged for and
Yes.
everything else. So Kyle, you never know. Kyle's gonna come on to 6 o'clock club on Friday. Kyle's playing tonight in the Riddle of the Rotwood Bog. Kyle's playing in Blades in the Dark game, and Kyle's playing in the Shadow Dark Tales from the Smoke as well. So you're going to see a
Nice.
lot of Kyle. And if we do a charity game and you can get the time off, maybe you're mad enough to come and join me for that. Um, so there's because we're not going to run the entirety of Rotwood tonight, and you're going to see it, the start, the middle, and the finish. It's going to tell a story because, as I say, the original concept was a one shot, and the original concept was a sort of 3 hour session. But there's going to be a lot that you don't see. I'm not going to talk specifically about the encounters, but one of the things I think it's become apparent that I do love my urban environments. So one of the things that we are going to sort of just touch on tonight, but not really talk about, is the village of Scratch. Now, I've play tested this through, I've run it in a few of my other games. Um, some of the players didn't realize that it was for a written thing, so it meant that they approached it with all the gusto that players approach something. And I think that is a true challenge of seeing what hits the mark, what inspires
Mm.
players. It's because I prefer, I like the idea of something being real, not realistic, but raw and
Yeah.
very much kind of play tested in a way that people are not got in their heads that it's a play test that they can just relax into and
Yeah.
they can enjoy it as players. Um, so Scratch is an interesting place. It's obviously a village well within the marshes and the swamps of Rotwood. The reason why it's called Scratch, and I was actually asked this, is because of the so many insects about, and everybody there is scratching all of the time. So basically outsiders say, "Oh, you're from Scratch," then as scratching themselves. So quite straightforward, really. And I kind of wanted it to have um, a I don't know what the correct word is, but a sort of a feeling of gator hunters, of swamps people, but clans, families,
Yeah.
extended families, um, that were very close amongst their own families, but perhaps rivals with the other families.
Mm.
Because I thought that is quite an interesting sort of dynamic. Um,
Yes.
but of course, the reason why Rotwood is sort of up and coming is because it's got a huge amount of exotic fauna and flora. Um, so, with such wondrous items to be harvested and found, obviously Scratch doesn't encourage, but individuals from outside of Scratch are prepared to make the journey to it to trade and barter for these reagents harvested within there. So you've kind of got this locals versus this new blood coming in as well. People from civilizations coming in, and really what they're interested in doing is lining their pockets and getting rich off the trade. And along with that, it kind of felt to me then that it'd be cool to do it as a kind of gold rush kind of feel that you know if you've got these individuals coming to do business here and stay, then there's kind of the baggage train behind them of, saloons and hotels and everything else to accommodate them in this place. So it's got quite a um, sort of sort of wild westy feel. It's not Wild
Yeah.
West in
It's
any
it's
way.
soggy old west in a
Yes,
way.
soggy old West. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Um, so I like building up these kind of infrastructures. It's still a small settlement at the moment,
Mm.
but you've got this quite interesting dynamics between families or clans that are rivals against each other. But there's these newcomers coming in, these sort of locals, those that wish to profit off it all.
Mm.
Um, and it makes an interesting mix. And whilst we're not going to do any of that tonight in the actual play because um, uh, it literally would take too long, and you can do entire sessions set in Scratch with
Yeah.
all of the politics going on. We did in the end do quite an extensive appendix for it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the nicest things about it is because, and kind of within the adventure, you don't necessarily need to. You could do the whole thing without ever actually visiting and sort of talking about it as a GM and kind of going, this is where you went and this is where you got the job from. But what's lovely about it, and one of the things I think has worked really nicely, is because it is such a vibrant, real location, and there's all of those potential hooks, potential bits of politics and stuff, and it's so vibrantly created and it feels alive that it's a really nice thing that kind of it's almost like an extra for the adventure is not only do you get this cool story that happens in the swamp, but also you've got this great place for your players to explore before or after or at a completely different time, because it does feel, certainly I think it feels like you could lift it and drop it into any swamp in any world and it's there and it feels vibrant and real and ready to go, which is lovely. And
Yeah,
another thing I think we're both pretty proud of in the whole adventure feels quite solid in that way, which is nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whilst this is designed for 5e, particularly, it's very much can be used with any kind of fancy rule set if you've got the imagination to do it. It's fairly rules light. Um, and with a little bit of creativity, you can kind of twist and tweak it and use it for everyone else. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say a quick few hellos. Hello to Elsa. Thanks for joining us. It's really cool. And Solo, you're back. Thank you very much for your very kind words today on our YouTube. Really appreciate it. I'm very grateful that it kind of starts your day off, my daily ramblings. Um, Absolutely. And yeah, you've kind of got the feeling for it immediately. Cajun Bayou is
Yes.
very much what we were sort of going for. Um, yeah, it's very humid, and the Rotwood, by the very name, is this horrible place, but it's got some very interesting and very valuable, unusual flora and fauna in. So it's kind of needs must really. And I think sometimes when you're designing an adventure, you kind of need to have a premise of why on earth people are going to this place. There needs to be a pull really. Um, so I'm very very excited. I'm as I say, it's not so much the money, although the money is nice. I really would like people to have a look at this and sort of and to get their honest opinions,
Yeah.
especially as both myself and Matt are very much aware that this is the first thing that we've done
Mm.
in terms of collaborations. Matt is a published author. I haven't published anything, um, but I'm very intrigued to see how it's received because I
Yeah.
suffer all of the time from imposter syndrome. So
100%. Yeah.
so I, d- I don't know. I think we've done a great job on it. I think we've
Yeah.
done our best with the brief that we were given, and I mean that gives me a degree of anxiety. What I should be doing is the brief that we were given is magnificent because we've got these awesome minis to base this story around. What I do with my imposter syndrome is go, yeah, we've got these awesome minis, but we couldn't include anything outside this range of minis because that. Um, Now that might not matter because you as a reader
Yeah.
will go, no, I mean it's perfectly fine. It works. It's great. We've got these awesome minis.
I think what we've done is we've told a great story with the tools that we were given, the
Yeah,
tools, being those parameters. And we've done, we could have been, it could be a lot more boring and mundane than it is. And there's some delightfully quirky moments in there. There's some really, really nice kind of not cliched, but the sorts of wonderful moments that can only happen in fantasy tabletop role playing games. And I won't say specifically what they are because
yeah.
spoiler.
No, no.
But there's lovely moments in there, and I think we're both incredibly proud of it, and I think that comes through, and I think it's a solid thing, and yeah, I think it's really exciting to see what people think, and
Yeah,
hopefully, though, people will like it and will want more, both models for Dragon's Forge
yeah,
because the guys at Dragon's Forge do incredible work. I mean, the visuals speak for themselves, and
yeah,
then hopefully that you know our writing team will flourish off the back of this with a bit
yeah,
of luck,
yeah,
or at
yeah.
least we'll get some positive reinforcement, which will be good.
Yeah, no, I mean it's as I say, it's me. My 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 terrible mind is always I'm always battling with it. I've got
Yeah,
so many voices in my head. It's I have to use them as NPCs most of the time. But in terms of the feel and the look of the miniatures, they are outstanding and they
yeah,
are dynamic. And you look at each one of them, and you're not getting, oh, this is Scout number two, this is Scout number three. Each of them have basically personalities of their own.
Very much.
Um,
They are there. It's another level of storytelling, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what's lovely. And so that's been a joy to be able to respond to in the creation of kind of the encounters and the moments as well. But yeah, no, I think they are storytelling pieces in themselves, and you can tell a story with
yeah.
each of those miniatures, and it's yeah, very cool.
So, I think you've heard us waffle on enough now about the Kickstarter. I mean, please take a look. If it's your thing, go for it. I'm genuinely interested for people's sort of comments on
Yeah.
what we've written. Um, there is more stuff coming from me and Matt. Watch out for this in the future, a month or so. We've got lots of very interesting sort of plans. So yeah, please keep a lookout. In the meantime, we are now going to start getting ready for the actual play.
Mm,
I say unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your mindset, it's going to be a pre-record. Um, some actual plays we do live, but again, I just want the quality of this to be spot on, and by quality I mean just like the tech to work rather than not work. And obviously,
yeah.
by doing that as a pre-record, you can stop things and fix the tech and move on. We're all working with incredibly cheap and basic equipment at the moment, so please bear with us as we hit various metrics and start being able to monetize YouTube and things like that. Hopefully, we can pour that money back into better equipment and stuff. I'm very excited to return to Rot, return to Rotwood Bog tonight, and I will
Me too.
be running it again in less than 25 minutes. So thank you very much,
You're
everybody,
so-
for listening. Thank you, Matt,
yeah,
for joining us and helping
very
me
welcome.
through trying to sell something. I'm not the best salesman.
No, thank you.
Just look at it, buy it. It's awesome. That's
It is.
fact. It's fact.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I really appreciate it. Take care, stay safe, and we'll be posting tomorrow, if the tech gods are kind to us, the actual play for you to get a good idea of what it's all about as well. So watch out for that. Uh,
It's worth also saying, sorry, just thought it's
yeah,
worth
no,
saying that
please.
the first chunk of there's a taster of the PDF on the Kickstarter page, which you can download to have a look at in your leisure. You don't just have to look at it on the page.
Yeah,
So worth checking that out as well, and you can have a download. And it gives you a good feel of what the adventure is going to have in there and the style that we've written. So
yeah.
check it out and let us know what you think.
Please check it out. And the link to the Kickstarter is in the comment section below. Uh, please either send us comments either on the Kickstarter on YouTube, or jump into our Discord, and you can always find me to chat. And yeah, have a good rest of evening, and I will catch you all tomorrow for Wednesday. Um, Wednesday, 6 o'clock club. I think Wednesday 6 o'clock club. We're going to be talking about Shadow Dark. Absolutely. The reason for that is their Kickstarter is coming to an end on Thursday, um, and I want to chat about Shadow Dark. I want to try and get some more people to jump in and start playing in some of the games that we're running. So it's going to be a Shadow Dark special tomorrow night in on the eve of the end of their Kickstarter. So
Amazing.
yeah. In the meantime, everybody stay safe, look after yourselves. We will catch you all next time. Bye for now.
Take it easy, guys. Bye bye.